good evening. Welcome to Environmental Coffee House. I have two really great special guests tonight that I am very excited to have with us at Environmental Coffee House. Robin Maguire and Stephanie Graybill. And both of them are with the American Indian Movement, and they are both amazing activists against the Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline in my sister state of Pennsylvania. And I'm in New York, as everybody knows. And unfortunately, fortunately, we are frack free, but we suck all your gas up.
Yes.
So I am particularly touched by the story. And especially since it's bittersweet because we fought the Northern Access Pipeline here in Western New York and won so far, and nothing's been done, and they have to go all the way back. You guys have a lot harder road, and that's where we're going to start. I'm going to start with you, Stephanie. Give us a little bit about your background with the American Indian Movement, and then we'll go on to, I've got my little bit of notes, to Robin, because she is been in Conestoga for years and working with farms and creating native, historically registered Native American sites. So this is really, really great. Stephanie, yeah. I'm going to give it to you guys. So
well,
take it away.
Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate, the opportunity for us to come on and speak out about what we're doing. The reason we're starting to do this today to try to get the word out is we're having a mass rally here in Conestoga on February 10th, a Saturday coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We've been fighting against the Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline, a lot of people a lot longer than I have, but basically within the past year, they've started to bring in their equipment, put down the pipes, so on and so forth. And what we want to do is raise some awareness that there's, a lot of Native historical sites here that they're plowing right through
Mm-hmm.
with no regard to anything that's there. Even though they're registered, there's artifacts been found there, and we are just trying to shine the light on that, corporate greed is just coming in and doing whatever they want at the expense of people's homes, lands,
feelings,
ancestors.
It's actually all over this country, and it's really all over the world. And your story resonates, and it should resonate throughout this country. And that's why you're here tonight. Thank you for sharing that. Robin, you want to give us a little of your background also? And thank you, Stephanie.
I actually have been in the same house for 42 years. I love where I live. I am so saddened by the destruction that's going on here. The people's lives it's affecting, the people's properties it's taking, the Native American grounds. The State Museum in Harrisburg says that Conestoga and Manor Townships are the most archaeologically significant townships in the state, possibly the country. And yet they do nothing to protect it. They say, we can't do anything. They absolutely cannot do anything. They get the paperwork from Williams archaeologists, and they just sign off on it. They don't even read what's going on. And I can tell you a little story about how we know that's what's happening.
I'm all ears. We're all ears.
We wanted to prove a point that it's, and I'm going to use the word white, not as a derogatory term, but the difference between the Native Americans and the whites.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to do a photo shoot to show a white cemetery or an historic cemetery on a Native American site to say which one were they going to avoid. Somebody had found discarded tombstones at a cemetery. We're all laughing about this. 6 of them with just initials, nothing else. He built a little cemetery right beside the Native American site. Evidently, the archaeologist documented this as real, sent the paperwork to the State Museum. The State Museum signed off on it and said this cemetery must be protected, must be mitigated, must be avoided. All they had to do was make one phone call to the landowner, and she would have told them what it was. And they didn't even bother doing that. So basically a bunch of hicks from southern Lancaster County fooled a bunch of people with PhDs.
Wow.
And we were proud of ourselves. Because of that, I lost my volunteer job at the State Museum. They escorted me out of the building because they couldn't admit they were wrong. They made a mistake. So it was better to get rid of the agitator than it was to say this is what happened.
It's so corrupt. It's so awful.
Yeah.
You know, so Robin, tell me, let's go back a little bit for you, how you actually got into this whole movement and your activism.
Just because I see what's going on. I've been so interested in this for at least 35 years. And when my neighbor introduced me to, I'd seen a petroglyph at Safe Harbor that had an Indian head carved on it. And I was really interested why that was there. He took me to his family farm, actually where the stand was, and showed me all the artifacts you could find there. And it just went from there. And that's pretty much so what I've been doing for the past 35 years. When I saw the proposed route for the pipeline, and I looked at that and I said, my gosh, it's going through all these sites. And I would stand up at meetings and I would say, show me your artifacts when we were having pipeline meetings. Mm-hmm. People would show me their artifacts. A friend and I don't want to mention his name in case he doesn't want it mentioned, we would go out and we would photograph, we would document where these artifacts came from, and then we would register the sites with the state. In 1 month, we registered 12 sites just in Conestoga Township.
Oh.
And it wasn't hard to do because everything is everywhere. I find stuff in my spring out front. Everybody in this township has something laying on their windowsills that they found in the yard while they were planting flowers. The Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline in Lancaster County alone, in 35 miles, is going through 86 registered sites. 86 sites in 35 miles. That doesn't even include the unregistered areas because nobody has time to register them. It's sad. It's absolutely sad. When they start digging for this pipe, when they start digging 7 feet down, they're going to hit burials. And nobody cares.
Mm-hmm. That's really...
Yeah.
Very sad. It's very sad. To tell me about... nobody cares. What kind of organized efforts have you actually done? I mean, lots of them. Tell us about some of that other people can learn from in their communities to fight.
Well, I mean, the fight here has been going on for a while. We did have an encampment started last February of 2016. Actually, I think it's coming up when a year has been since we started it. My recommendation is just to educate yourself, learn about what's happening to your country, what's happening to your land. You can't just have these corporations keep coming in for their own personal greed and not even profit anybody whose lives they're destroying. Yeah. There's people's homes here that now they can't build on that land. Now they can't plant trees in that field anymore. They, might not be able to harvest their corn. You don't even know. And the fact is that all pipelines leak. All pipelines will break at some point in time. And this is a natural gas pipeline. So we're talking about explosions happening. We're talking about lives being lost. We just saw it the other day in Ohio, where there's a pipeline exploded, a huge ball of fire in the air. Luckily, nobody was injured. Out in, I think it was Oklahoma, at the drill, at one of their drill sites. Lives were lost.
What's it going to take?
We can't just keep taking lightly. We can't just sit down and shut up, and because it's not happening in our backyards that we don't want to pay attention to it. Because now it's in our backyards. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Conestoga since I was 15 years old. These are the river hills. We're right on the Susquehanna River. Yeah. Which is now the third most endangered river in the country.
It sure is. I know that.
Years ago, we had 55,000 gallons of gasoline from Sunoco dumped into our river. We can't fish in that river. I don't even want to swim in that river. All the waterways around here are affected by that.
I kayak the Conestoga, and I will not get in the Conestoga above my knees because the rivers are just polluted anymore.
It's the story everywhere, and it's only going to get worse the way the EPA and the environmental regulations are going. But with this Atlantic Sunrise, you did say something about that it's really, there's going to be going to the coast and going overseas. And that's a little bit different from what we were all told.
Yeah.
Originally, when this fight started 3 years and 10 months ago, the original contracts, because Williams had to show a need for this pipe. They just couldn't put in the pipe. They had to go to FERC and they had to show a need. And in order to show a need, they had to show that they sold the capacity of the pipe. And it lists the 4 suppliers that bought the capacity of the pipe. The biggest purchaser of the capacity of the pipe was Gale Industries, which is from India. They are not an import or an export company. They're an import. And Cove Point has actually gone from an import facility. They've spent the past 2 years and billions of dollars turning it into an export facility. And that's where Gale Industries is shipping out of. They built a new Panama Canal because the old Panama Canal can't handle the traffic anymore. What they didn't realize was the LNG, am I saying that right? The LNG ships could not go through the new one. The industry spent billions of dollars building a new fleet of natural gas ships that can go through this new Panama Canal. So, I mean, the intent is there. They just, in order to placate people, they just say, oh, yeah, well, we're going to provide all this gas to America.
Oh, sure. That's what they said here with the Northern Access. And we knew that it was going to go and go down to the end of it and go overseas. We knew it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't hidden. You know, it wasn't hidden, but they did do the same bull crap here, you know. So, and I know that here we're going to have the fight again against fracking come back. I mean, it's a moratorium against fracking. It's going to come back. You know what I'd like to ask about Pennsylvania? How did it all start? I mean, how did it all start where all this fracking started and the pipeline started?
I
don't know.
It just was it maybe legislation and that they didn't tell anybody? You know, it was just these business as usual?
Well, and they developed a new way to frack.
Yeah.
The lobbyists that brought them.
Yeah, they discovered a new way to frack, that it made it easier. They could go deeper. And fracking is basically breaking the bones of Mother Earth to get what's below there. Now, somebody stated a couple of years ago, one of the reasons why they're trying to get rid of the natural gas in Pennsylvania is because there's oil below it. And they want to get the gas out so they can get to the oil.
I know that.
Now, I didn't know that either until somebody came up with that research. There are so many people here who do research, and then they pull all these facts together. And it's after all this time, it's kind of hard to remember where exactly everything came from.
That's it's disconcerting. It's upsetting. You know, I've been reading about this forever in the state impact .org, and actually these posts go back for years, all the way back to 14. But the really most telling was the FERC approves Williams Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline, and then the Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline opponents begin encampment, and the British cosmetic firm funds pipeline protest camp. Then after Standing Rock, pipeline fights continue around the U.S. Then the pipeline protesters face large fines over the use of Lancaster County barn. Let's go there. That was interesting. You were telling me about earlier. How did this happen?
When we had the encampment started, we were on private property, which was across the street from what is now the drill site to go underneath the Conestoga River. So we had a small group of water protectors from Standing Rock and around the country come and stand with us, along with a lot of community members that would come out on the weekends and support us, start what we were doing. The township fought us being there, even though we were on private property and there was a tobacco barn there. They condemned the use of that for meetings, doing interviews, that sort of thing. And that really started to spiral down from there, where we just kind of felt like the encampment wasn't going to stick around. Long story short, the landowner did sell out last year, sold his property to Williams. They have now since moved in tons of equipment. And now, remember, this is right next door, right on the same farm that an Amish family lived there with their 7 children. I think they have 7 kids at home. They're, you know, and they farm that land. Whether they're, I don't know if they're being compensated or you know.
Why would they be? They already paid off the owners.
Yeah.
Right.
So what kind of compensations do the tenants of the land? They're probably, you know, letting them stay there and telling them, giving them some kind of, who knows what.
They have a little outdoor stand, and I don't know if you're familiar with Lancaster County. Everybody's got little stands out front where they sell seasonal produce and that kind of thing.
That's true.
Yeah, they were selling maple syrup during the winter. Now I noticed, I'm going to say October-ish, November-ish, there's now a closed sign on it. Once they stopped selling their mums in October, there's now a closed sign up there. Usually in the winter, he's selling his maple syrup. So I'm wondering if Williams made them shut that down to keep the protesters from actually coming up and buying produce from the stand and perhaps walking up to see what's going on at the drill site.
Yeah.
Wow. That's insanity.
And it's the same thing here as in everywhere in the country. You can't walk property now. You can't be on the right of way. You'll get arrested for trespassing. You know, they might give you 2 warnings to get off if the police come. But the pipeline workers, they've been instructed not to speak to any of us. No. If we have any questions, they don't. Robin knows that better because she's out there. I don't know if anybody follows what Robin does, but she's out there every single day, 2, 3, 5 times a day at different sites in Conestoga and the surrounding area, videoing her and 2 other women in the area are out there every single day and just documenting what they're doing. And
where can we find your videos? Where can anybody that's watching this, that's interested, where can they find your videos?
Lancaster Against Pipeline. Okay, it's singular, pipeline, because that was started almost 4 years ago just as a protest to this pipeline. And we post, there's a lot of information posted on that site. And it's very, very helpful.
Okay, because I think that I just started the journey on watching your videos, and they are really good, but they're really disturbing. And I can't watch them without, I want to cry. I mean, it's the same thing that goes on with what's happening in the Bears Ears and all of the national lands that are now up for energy. I think it's online bidding, but you have to have like $1 million in your bank account before you can even make a bid.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing here. Like these landowners that want to protest it, they don't want the pipe going through their property. They really have no voice.
No choice.
No. They're going through their savings accounts, their bank accounts. They're going broke. They're in debt now because they have lawyers and they're trying to fight it. And it's already too late because the pipe is already there. It's just not all of it is buried yet.
They're just doing the construct. Property values are going down. I know a family just sold their home. The place was gorgeous. The house was built in like 1760, something like that. That gorgeous outbuilding. She's found artifacts while she was planting flowers. And they lost almost $300,000 when they sold their house because they wanted to get out. They needed to get out for their kids' sakes. And so they moved somewhere else. There's other people that have their homes on the market because they don't want to live with this pipe going right by their home and having to worry about it all the time.
Would you?
No. And that's why we were fighting in all our counties going all the way up, because the northern access was slated to go under the Niagara River. That's crazy. The current, like the Straits of Mackinac, and they're fighting Line 5. You know, Desmond Berry and his group, and they wanted to do that here under the Niagara River, which is crazy.
Oh yeah, I follow the Line 5 and all that too, and yeah, it's just what's it take? What is it going to take for these corporations and for the American public to realize that we don't need any more pipelines? We don't need any more. We need to be moving away from fossil fuels, and we need to be moving towards renewables, solar, wind, hemp.
Yep. Well, it's
plastic you can make with hemp. We need to stop criminalizing this plant, you know, for all these years, when there's so many things that we could be doing with it that we don't need. We don't need to be drilling for oil. We don't need any more oil pipelines. We don't need any more gas pipelines. Make electric cars more available to the normal people who don't have, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to go out and buy a new vehicle. These things need to be seriously discussed. They need to be implemented into place, and we need to start using them. We need to move away from fossil fuels. It has to happen.
Go ahead, Robin.
I mean, look at the weather now. If you go on the website for Jamestown, which was the first settlement in America, they on their page will tell you need to come now because it's falling into the ocean, because the ocean level has come up so much there. It's not going to be there in 5 years. Does that tell you something? I so wish the ocean level would come up in Mar-a-Lago.
Listen, that's about the feeling of so many people, except for Fox News. But it is not. It's not funny. I mean, I shout this stuff from the rooftops. I've been dedicating the last year of my life or more to trying to get people educated. And I think on this road through Real Progressives and this venue, Environmental Coffee House, I've done some. I've woken some people up. They've come along for the ride, and then meeting people like you, which is just amazing and inspirational, Robin and Stephanie. You know, Robin, tell me about a typical day. You know, just let's segue to a typical day for you out there doing what you do. I think we all would like to hear that. Yeah.
A typical day is I get up, I let my duck out of the pen, I feed her, I make coffee, I tend my fire because I heat my house with wood from down trees. Then I take my dog for a walk, then I pick up my friend Gay, and we go for a ride. And we go see what the latest action is today. We try to catch them in violations. We try to document what they're doing. And Gay and I have both discussed that this is heartbreaking. It's very hard on us, but it's addicting. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to let people see what is going on. Let people see the erosion. We caught them in a spill a couple of weeks ago. If we had been out there, we wouldn't have caught that spill. And they claim it was an erosion spill, but they spent 3 days scraping the field with shovels.
Wow.
So if it was erosion, why were they scraping the field?
Yeah. But had it not been for Robin and you know, the crew that she has going around and documenting, nobody would have known that happened. They would have just buried it underneath.
That's it.
Everything else and just let it destroy the soil.
You know, somebody said to me that it's not inherently that the pipelines are so bad. There's a human error is always going to happen. So even if they have technology for no leak pipelines, which I don't think they do, there's always going to be human error. There's going to be spills, there's going to be leaks, and there's going to be destruction.
Yeah, that's the good the sun. It doesn't leak.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about the wind. It doesn't kill people.
Yeah, well, the bad thing about that is renewables need the mining, and we need the metals and all that. But I do believe that we're going to get there, and then when we get there, hopefully there's, you know, I don't know if I'm always for the technological answer or not. You know, I just don't know. I don't know.
A compromise. There has to, you know, we're not all going to just shut off our electricity and stop driving our vehicles, you know. And I've said before, just because we are, you know, against the pipeline doesn't mean that we're anti-gas necessarily, because that's the world we live in. We have to be realistic here. We can't just all go out and drive horse and buggies around all the time. It's just not the way it is. But there has to be some sort of compromise and some way to go into having these things accessible and not being, you know, fined for having a windmill on your property or digging your own well or, you know, or installing solar. These things have to be affordable and accessible to the everyday person. And it's not that way right now. It
would be if we would change our mindset. We need people to change their mindsets. You know, that this is what we need to do for the benefit of our children and our grandchildren.
which is what we're trying to do. All of us, you're the citizens journalist, you're a journalist activist, you're out there every day living this, you know,
watching trucks run people off the roads, watching accidents happen, watching a car or a truck with a what do you call the trailers in the back?
The flatbeds.
The flatbed had a bulldozer on it. He went around a corner. Now, our roads down here basically date from the early 1700s. All they did was put macadam on them.
Yeah.
He took the
River
corner.
Hills.
Yeah, he took the corner too sharp, pinned a woman up against in her SUV up against a bank. The blade from the dozer ripped the side of her car off. She is so lucky her children weren't in the back seat.
Oh my God.
And workers left the site, OD'd on the road, ran his truck off the road into a bank. He's lucky he didn't hit somebody and kill them. And all this stuff is just brushed under the rug, you know.
Yeah.
That is
really hungover. You know, they didn't.
Yeah, it's really scary.
We're assuming they were all out partying for Super Bowl, and I didn't find anybody working yesterday at all.
Do you ever talk to these guys? Are there ever any of these? I think it's LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, and these guys have been at the meetings. I'm in Facebook jail. But these guys have been at the meeting. These guys and gals have been at the meetings we had in New York. What's the matter?
We're in Facebook jail.
Who's in Facebook jail?
We can't hear her.
Well, me? You can't hear me?
I don't know if you can hear us, but you're frozen on our feed.
Oh, boy. Well, then I'll put you on. Go ahead and talk. Keep talking, you. Here. I'll put this on.
No.
Huh?
She's. Yeah.
Oh boy. Where all this fracking.
Well, tell her we can do it.
And
Okay. No, we
I don't know
can't.
if you can hear us, but you're frozen on our feed.
oh boy.
Okay.
Well, then I'll put you on. Go ahead and talk.
We
Keep
now
talking. You.
we have another way to do this now, and you're not frozen on that one.
I'll put this on.
Am I frozen?
We have
I'm
another
gonna
way
see.
to do this now, and you're not frozen on that
I
one.
wonder what happened. I don't know what happened. I can see you guys just fine.
No, we got you back.
We're working it out. Yeah. So,
I don't know what happened. I can see you guys just fine.
No, we got you back.
I don't know what that is. Some kind of feedback. I don't know if it's on your side. All right, people are saying we're good. So keep going.
I don't know what that is. Some kind of feedback.
On your side.
well,
All right, people are saying we're good. So
yeah.
keep going.
Okay.
Well, we're watching you on the phone, but where you're seeing us, like we can't see you anymore. You're completely frozen. So,
We're good.
I don't know what happened.
and there's a lag.
Do you want to go back out? Go.
I don't know what happened.
And there's a lag. Yeah, I think we were dappled.
Do you want to go back out?
Maybe.
What
I think we
should
should
do?
probably should.
Go out and come back.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? I don't know what happened. Can you hear me? They're going to come back in. I don't know what happened. I'll have to edit this. Forgive me. Nothing happened on my end. But if somebody can hear me, tell me yes. I'll probably have to edit this. I don't know how to refresh this, Judy. I don't think you can refresh a live feed. But if you can hear me, let's wait for them to come back in. This has been really very interesting. And it's very sad story. It is really sad to hear that the eminent domain has taken all of these landowners properties. And then that greed overwhelmed people and sold them out. They sold out in Pennsylvania. It's happening all over because they're dangling that carrot in front of people. And that's very, very troubling, especially when, they're back. Okay. I think that we see you. Does everybody okay. I think it's good now. I think we can continue. What I'll probably do is edit the video. I'll try to edit all of that out and we'll get some good stuff in. So everybody's back and we have a great audience. So let's, Judy has a comment here. They own minerals below your land. Now, is there something that goes on for you guys that is, besides minerals and the fracking, what else is Pennsylvania going to do to you?
Oh, don't know. We get no help from our representatives. We get no help from our state or federal representatives. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It's up to the people. And that's why we're having this mass rally on the 10th, that we're inviting everyone that can see the rally, that can hear us, that have been following us, to come and help us stand against the pipeline. And the fact that they don't care that what they're digging up is just, it's heartbreaking, because like Robin said earlier, they wouldn't go through a regular cemetery. They would go around. They wouldn't do something like this, but they don't care what they're destroying.
There was a paper, Williams Weekly Report to FERC. Mm-hmm. In the course of surveying for the pipeline, this just happened like a month or so ago. They found a stone foundation from the 1700s in Manor Township. The State Museum is all in gaga about this stone foundation. So the pipeline had to move over about 20 feet to keep from going through the stone foundation, so that the State Museum could excavate it and find out what it's all about. This stone foundation is surrounded by Native American sites, absolutely surrounded. There's a registered site within, I'm going to say, 3 football fields are there. But they didn't move the pipeline for that one. And it doesn't matter where you go in Manor Township, there's a site. And that's why the Euro-Americans moved there. Because of the way it was all laid out. It's close to the Susquehanna River. It's perfect for farming. The Native Americans moved there because that's where it was good to live. Mm-hmm. And so the Europeans, when they came over, decided, hey, this is a good spot to live. You guys get out.
Well, but Pennsylvania's it's really been corrupted. And another thing I wanted to ask you was, are there earthquakes happening in Pennsylvania now, like Oklahoma? Has it started yet?
Yes, it has. We had one.
There's a few in western Pennsylvania, like on the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. Oh. And that's where actually this new brand of fracking started. And they're having a few there, but not that many. And I've said all along since the beginning of this pipeline fight, it's going to take a major catastrophe for somebody to realize, for people to wake up and say, this is not a good thing. Oklahoma only had like 2 or 3 earthquakes a year. Now they have 2 or 3 earthquakes a day.
It's horrible.
My actual dream is for a huge earthquake and Williams headquarters to fall into a pit of fracking waste.
Yeah, there you go. The fracking waste that they're trucking into my county for the landfills from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's
wow. That's a good dream. Hey, I think during Standing Rock, everybody was dreaming about something happening to Mr. Kelsey Warren, if they still don't. And Energy Transfer Partners. I'll never forget when I first researched Energy Transfer Partners, and I learned the thousands and thousands of miles of pipelines that exist already. I never realized it was that proliferated because I was asleep. We were just consumers. We were, or at least I speak for me, working consumer, sleeping. And
Yeah.
Standing Rock certainly did wake me up more than I was before. I mean, I was part of the anti-fracking thing, but then once we got the moratorium, we all took it a little bit easy, and we can't do that now. No, nobody can do that.
That woke a lot of us up. I know it woke me up for sure. I always tried to live green, sort of. I would recycle. I was trying not to be wasteful, leave my water running when I brushed my teeth, that sort of thing. But I wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the dog attacks out at Standing Rock, that's what woke me up.
Yeah.
And that's what made me want to go out there. And that's why when it took me a few months to get there, but I got there. And I was just a stay-at-home mom. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary for any particular reason. And ever since then, I haven't stopped.
No, and you're part of the AIM. You're the vice president of the organization in Lancaster, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little about that? Tell us, both of you, talk about your experience with the AIM and the future.
I'm new to the American Indian movement. I just was appointed to that position, so we're working on some good things. They do a homeless feed every spring. We're getting ready to do that, where we're going to go into Lancaster City and set up and feed the homeless out there. Robin's been involved in this a little bit longer than I have, but they're doing good things, and we're trying to raise awareness that there are things that need to be discussed, and we can't have this division of race or where we've come from, because we're all living here now. We're all here together, and we have to stand up. We have to make a stand and stand together for what's right and what's not right.
Yeah.
And
that would be utopia.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what I've seen in human history is it doesn't seem to happen.
No.
Doesn't mean you don't try.
Oh, I am the proponent. Everybody will tell you I try. I talk about everything locally. What you guys do is what I espouse for everybody else. That espouse to live locally, work locally, get involved in your elections locally. I mean, even if you have to, whatever you have to do, we have to get climate deniers out. We have to get pipeline people out. We have to get the fossil fuel industry. We got to get them to heal.
Oh, it's hard to do that because money talks. And, if you follow the money, you know where everything's coming from. It's coming from the lobbyists who are all for this, who only want to line their own pockets at the expense of everyone else.
It's such a shame. That's why there's Move to Amend. Those people are working hard to overturn Citizens United. They hire lawyers to fight cases. They do a lot of things, and they do education. But it's really going to happen that way, by getting money out of politics. But do we have enough time? Can we do this in our lifetime? Are we at the tipping point with climate change? Do you guys talk about climate change? I mean, actually, pipelines and fossil fuels are exactly why.
Yeah. Well, that's also another huge part of it too. And we have grandchildren. Both of us have grandchildren and children, and we don't want our kids to have to be fighting this, in their next generation, or my granddaughter's grandchildren. We have to wake up now and realize that we can't keep doing this, that we have to think about the generations, not just the next one, 150 years from now, 200 years from now,
20 years from now.
What are we leaving them behind? We're going to say, like, we can't stay silent. We need to let our children know that we're not staying silent, and we're not doing it for ourselves to get accolades or to be on Facebook Live. We don't want them to have to keep fighting the same fight over and over again, that they need to have clean water to drink. Water is life. Nobody sustains without water. We need to have clean air. We need to have so we can grow our own food, so we can stop being a consumer nation, so we can be self-sustaining people.
Yeah.
We want to get, Patrick put up you guys get radon gas when fracking. And as I'm listening to you, Stephanie, I'm thinking about right now in my county with that, with the radon that comes in the fracked waste. And it's not just something to say, we'll scan the truck that comes in. No, this is really, it's happening. And I can give you a lot of information on that.
Oh, in northern Pennsylvania, they're taking the fracking waste and spreading it on the roads because it melts the ice.
Yeah, they were. I don't know if they're doing that here anymore, but we heard that was happening too. And what happens to that runoff?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have said I was, as much heartbreak as this pipeline has been, it woke me up. And I have said all along that we are going to see major changes in our lifestyle in my lifetime. And I'm an old woman. And I'm saying within 5 years, everybody's going to have to wake up or it's the end. Yeah. You know, we have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by when you say the end? What do you mean?
Going to end of our life as we know it.
Like
we call it the zombie apocalypse.
Okay, so have you followed any of the near-term human extinction pages where they talk about all this?
No.
It's scary.
I'm pressed enough without reading.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I understand completely. I do. But I've actually learned so much about this, about climate change. And even in my own local, I became the treasurer of my local community environmental organization. And this is we're dealing with wind farm coming in, but we're also dealing with this whole big thing of the landfills taking this fracked waste and the radioactivity and the afterlife and the shale gas and all these things. And it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like you say, we got to do it. Those of us that feel it, we have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to. What are we going to do in 100 years from now? Not we, but, in 100 years from now, when you can't drink any of the water, when everybody, like in Flint, Michigan, everybody there is still on bottled water. They still don't have their pipes replaced. There's still lead in their water, along with probably 12 other heavy metals, that they're living on bottled waters. Now, it's still being provided to them by the city, but if they stop that, how are these people supposed to live? How are they supposed to afford bottled water to wash themselves, shower themselves, their children, to eat, cook, bathe, do their laundry, everything, water your plants, everything you have to think of what you need to do for water? That's going to be in every city in this country if we don't change our ways and wake up.
It's happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
Cape Town.
You cannot keep polluting your water systems and your air and your soil and expect to have a sustainable planet. I mean, Earth will be here. We won't.
Yeah.
But what are we leaving behind for our future generations? That's what everybody needs to think of. We have to stop being so short-sighted about tomorrow or 10 years from now or 20 years from now. We have to think about 100 years from now, 150 years from now, that future generations, seriously think about this. What are we leaving them? Gas masks and what? Let all the water barons buy up all the water, and then we have to pay for water $50 a case. How do people? Yeah. These are realities. These are things that are going to happen if we don't all stand up and stand together and make a change.
They're going to happen sooner rather than later. Like I said, we're going to see this happen within the next 5 years.
Yeah, and we are already. And we provide enough of that on our page, enough of the articles and links to all of these scientists. And I interview scientists, and it's frightening. But on a daily basis, Robin and Stephanie and all of you out there that are doing these things, fighting and bringing awareness, this is where it's at. This is a life, when they talk about a life of service, a life of service is what Robin and Stephanie are living. And so many of you are living a life of service, not political service necessarily, but service to others and your sisters and brothers and your families. And that's a beautiful thing. I've been interviewing progressive politicians also, well, they're not politicians. These are new progressives, and they are singing the same tune as we all are. Slowly happening. But we've got to get the momentum locally to vote in these people. What's it like in your area politically? Go for it. I want to hear this.
I stay away from the political part as much as possible because I get very angry.
They just they have their own agenda.
How can you fight it? If you don't get involved somehow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, are there any people that were involved in the pipeline fight that are now looking to enter politics in your area? Because I live in a country, rural Amish area, and progressives are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Well, I tried running for township supervisor the last election. I didn't lose. I did very well considering this is a Republican township. And I was kind of proud of myself. Now, I did not win, but I go to all the supervisors.
But you did
it. I've got signs to prove it. We had a good time.
Hey, I think it's wonderful. So tell me, you go to the local meetings?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I think they changed the way the agenda is now just because of a few of us that do go to the meetings. You know, they public comment at the beginning instead of the end. Well, how can we comment if we don't know what the meeting's about?
Yeah.
So, may I show you an artifact?
Yes, absolutely. Show us.
To do this.
Okay, let me get you. Okay, it's a little. We can see. Okay, is that Tell us. Is that what you found? A spearhead in the ground?
That is a spear point. Yes. And it's actually, I'm going to say about 3 inches long. I was told that it was probably used for spearfishing. Wow. I found it when I was kayaking. I got out of my kayak and it was in the mud between my feet. It is absolutely perfect. Wow. It's one of the best things I ever found. And I am so proud of that.
But those are the things that the Atlantic Sunrise Pipeline is destroying.
Yeah, these are the kind of things that are everywhere here.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and the thing is, we don't know what they're finding now. No. They could be finding all kinds of things and sticking it in their pockets, not reporting it to anything.
They did shovel tests on the owner's properties, which is the archaeological team comes in and digs little holes periodically every 50 feet. These people that they did the shovel tests on has still not gotten their artifacts back. Some of them, this happened 3 years ago. And when they call any of the land agents or anybody saying, where are our artifacts, they'll say, well, they're still in the lab being tested for 2 years. So it's basically theft from the property. They picked these things up, they took them away, and these people don't know what they took. It's like me walking into your house, filling a bag up with stuff and saying, hey, I'll see you later on. And that's it's just a affront to scientific and archaeological scientists not being able to go and dig the land to preserve these historical things that can teach us so much about ourselves, but also about the environment. How did they survive? How did these things and how did these? But also, you know what we can learn from those things? How can we survive going forward? Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big thing right there. We have to learn to change our consumption habits. We have to go back to almost the idyllic, beautiful life that the indigenous people all over had.
Yeah.
But how do we do this when we are I mean, I read something today, 20 years, 1 billion jobs will be lost to robots.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that going to help?
How do we have that much consumption in this country that we need to now have robots?
Yeah.
I don't
Well, it's China, I guess.
Yeah.
We've got somebody in the house. I've seen her, Joanne May Spotted Bear. I've watched her commentary, and she's also another. Welcome, Joanne. I'm really absolutely thrilled that you're watching. She is an indigenous commentator. She does some excellent work. So I'm introducing you guys online here. Check out each other's work. And she's laughing. So it's nice that she's here with us. Absolutely. So Jesse he's making a comment about the sacred burial grounds. How in the world is this right?
We love Jesse.
Yeah, but how is this right? How is that right? And then here's another comment. Mike says, let's not forget the scientific and technological community. They're the ones destroying the planet. They aren't the answer. Traditional knowledge is and always has been the answer.
Yes.
That's a very good statement.
Yeah.
I mean, we are a lot more sophisticated than we have to be now, I do think. But I don't know if we can go back that much backwards. It's learning those principles that I think are important.
Yeah.
And you've got them.
And
you know them, Robin.
It's not going back. It's really the way it should have always been, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, it should never really have been like this.
Actually, and it's not going back, it's moving forward. And that's what we need to do. We need to move forward.
Yes, move forward, learning from the past. And that's what we don't do very often in any cultures on the whole globe.
Yeah.
We don't. But let's see what people are talking about in the, okay, Mindy has a comment. I think both old and tech ways as well. A mixture, okay, of what we have to do going forward. Let's see what Judy says. Judy says, Union of Concerned Scientists has people running for office. All right. Then those are concerned scientists. I read their articles. Those are the people that actually are wanting to do the right thing by us. You know, they're not scientists do not have something that makes them aversive to greed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you have a heartbeat, you can be guilty of it. So that's how it is, unfortunately.
Yes. Yes.
It's more than we need. You know, this country, human nature, it's how humans have progressed is we take more than we need and we don't think about the repercussions of what we're doing. We just do.
Look at Black Friday at Walmart.
Yeah, right.
That's the ultimate consumerism.
Yeah.
I've tried. It's not easy. We're putting floors in the house. I consumed.
Okay.
I couldn't live with the carpet that was 20 years old, making us not be able to breathe. But we did a lot of research on what we're consuming. And we also heat with wood, and we got a new wood stove. But that was also down trees because we had a tornado go through our property.
Oh.
It was July 20th. And we were in the hospital because my husband had a motorcycle accident, which everybody knows. And 5 days later, we were in the hospital. We hear that tornado went through and it did bring down trees. We have enough firewood for the next 5 or 6 years, which I wouldn't have wanted that way.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of stove did you get?
I got a Lopi. The name it escapes me, but it's a Lopi standing free stove. It's really neat because it's got a catalytic converter. Yes. So it cost me an arm and a leg. I had to take money out of my retirement, but I had to do this because the stupid fireplace we had was an inch too small for an insert. This thing is great though. It is amazing. We haven't used a bit of propane since. And if you live in rural America, you know, we don't have gas pipelines. We just have propane. They come and deliver it. I hate it. And we'd like to go solar, but now we have tariffs to deal with. So we have to see how that's going to be. And I want to take everybody on that trip, you know, with me as we do this.
Oh, good. We'll be watching then.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
I would like to go solar, but I live in the middle of the woods and I've already had people down and look and they say, well, you'd have to cut those trees down. I'm like, no.
Well, wait a minute. They don't have to go on the roof anymore. You can have a solar panel array on a sunny part of your property.
I have it on my property.
Oh, nothing. Okay. See, I do. I have that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
If we can, is put the solar array away from the house and have it in the most sunny place. Plus, my husband doesn't want to get up and have to clean off the snow. And I keep telling him, honey, every year we're getting less snow. We're not going to have any freaking snow anymore because it's going to be 45 to 75 degrees. And then it's going to go down to -7 the next day.
Yeah. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, winters here haven't been the same either. You know.
Yeah. What have you noticed in Pennsylvania? What have you noticed in Pennsylvania?
Oh, it's definitely warmer.
Yeah.
I arrived here from Wisconsin a couple days before Christmas, and it was 60 degrees.
Yeah.
It was 60 degrees here in Christmas.
That's craziness. It is. It is. But you know what? I mean, like you said, we have to try and do whatever we can. And even make, just to make it less fearful or less frightening for people to live through what's coming, educate our children with skills. And that's what we talked about, the skills that transfer them, but they have to be in the school districts. That's why we have to get on school boards. I mean, to everybody, just get progressives in everywhere and get these climate deniers and these greedy people out.
Yep, definitely.
We're trying.
I know you are, and I think it's great. We've got somebody that made a comment. Julia says plants, herbs not growing as they should due to climate change. Animals being affected as well. Absolutely. It's just the tragedy of our times. But as we live through the tragedy of our times, we have people like Stephanie and Robin who are amazing activists and who are doing things that others can replicate by learning by your example. And I think I'd like to segue into any questions out there from anybody. And if we don't, I'd like to ask you guys to give us a nice closing, what you'd like to tell everybody, because we have a million comments. And let me see if I've got anything. Well, you know what? Let's have one more. Teresa, she says, we need to start with local supervisors, go to state government and work towards bills to Congress. Yes, like the Off Fossil Fuels Act that Tulsi Gabbard has introduced into Congress. These are all these kinds of things. We need to assault Congress with these kinds of bills and turn this around.
Yeah.
We're on the Titanic.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. And
well,
we need to make these people aware that we're not going to go away because they've been so comfortable in their little politicians' nest that, they're
going to turn it around. I'm going to give it to you guys. I'm going to put you on the screen, and I want you to tell everybody everything you possibly can and want to before we end, because this has been really, really good. So go for it. Robin and Stephanie, it's all yours.
Go ahead.
Well, we just want to remind everyone that we are having this rally on the 10th here in Conestoga. I think the link might be on your page that they can find that out and come out here and stand with us to try to get our word out, to shine the light on the Conestoga natives that once lived here, the ones that lived here before them, that Robin has 2,000 years, our artifacts are coming back from 2,000 years ago, that we're trying to protect these things. 6,000. You know, these things are sacred. They're sacred items. We're sacred lands that we're trying to protect. So if anybody's in the area or can make a trip for the day, come out and stand with us. We're going to be having some speakers. We're going to be doing some things that we'll find out on the day of. And, we just want Williams to go home. Yeah. Get him out.
I hear you. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a beautiful day that day. And I wish I could make it. I don't know. I'm probably not that far, but I've got so much going on. And I told you ladies, this is going to be one of my last interviews for a couple of weeks because I'm having the hardest time actually even sitting because I wrenched my back, and I am one of those. Not like you, Robin. You're amazing. I am a chronic pain patient with a horrible back that crumbles at the thought of standing up and taking videos for an hour like you do. But I give you all the kudos in the world, both of you.
I have actually seen them run when they see Gay and I coming.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Trucks.
Good. I'm glad you put a little fear in these people. What they need is education. These working guys have to know that there's other ways to live, that these aren't the only jobs in the world. But when I talk to these union guys, they're like, so you dig a trench, you put a pipeline in, you cover it up, that's it. Like it's nothing. Yeah. They think it's nothing. And this is exactly what I was told. I mean, I did live stream that whole mess. I was in the middle of a whole stream of these pipeline people in their union, and they were coming around me and they would say, but this is the way we have to be. And it's not the way we have to be.
No.
Robin, do that little
even
thing again.
very, very least, When they put that pipe in the ground, they have to compact the soil so hard to keep the pipe from moving that it doesn't absorb water anymore. Then there's heat from the pipe that drives the rest of the water off, and it's actually documented that you do not get the same crop yield over top the pipeline.
Boy, that's crazy. All of it. I use the word crazy a lot. I probably shouldn't. It's probably not a good word to use. But that must be your daughter, Anna. That's lovely. That's lovely. So, one more comment from Judy that happened to me at county commission meeting. Oh, I see what okay. We're going back a little bit, but okay. Well, we've been almost an hour. I think this has been really good. The audience has had, the commenters have been commenting back and forth, and you can read those afterwards. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us speak.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah, well, enjoy your time off and heal yourself.
Yeah, let's hope so. I've been trying to heal myself for 16 years. But we will come on. I would love to have you guys back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe next time we talk a little bit more about the progress and the fight, just to keep reinforcing that this is what we have to do. Okay. And water is life.
Yes, it is.
Water is life.
And at that, I'm going to say goodnight, and I'm going to do my normal little peace, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Share. This was great. Two wonderful, phenomenal women that I am really honored to have on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, ladies. Wait for me. I'm going to end. Good night, everybody.